And we are live. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the We Are Careers show. As always, I'm Chris Webb. I'm an employability advisor with Sheffield Hallam University and a registered career development professional. And I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Meet Sabiha. Sabiha, how are you doing today?
I'm really good, Chris, and I'm super excited about our guest that we have on the show today, Carolyn. My name is Meet Sabiha. I work in 12 countries as a registered career development practitioner. I specialize in working with young people who are looking to transform their career potential. And also I'm creator of the 4.0 Class Academy, which is all about upskilling career guidance counselors, helping them deliver powerful career support to students. So what have we got coming up in today's show? We have the Welsh CDI Project Associate and founder of Career Alchemy, Carolyn, joining us today to discuss all things CEIAG development in careers. And that was just me dropping my iPad on the floor. Oopsie daisy. I know, I'm not even attempting to look at it. But continue being a real pro. We're going to celebrate another member's outstanding contribution to our field. So stay tuned to learn who gets celebrated this week. And then that's going to be followed up with the latest news from the CDI, including details about the up and coming National Careers Leader Conference. And we'll end up with a roundup of the latest news stories impacting our sector, including the latest government marketing blunder and a few other interesting posts that have been shared by our fellow members and other career leader practitioners. So over to you, Carolyn. What do we need to know about you? What does the work that you do involve?
The first thing I want to say is diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you very much indeed for inviting me. And of course, Wales is a bilingual nation. So if I didn't say something in Welsh very, very quickly, all the members that I hope have tuned in, because we have mailed them to join us today, will be sitting going, well, that's not very Welsh. So croeso cynnes I chi gyd, those who are listening in from Wales. Thank you very much for the very warm welcome and for inviting me here today. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. And as you say, Sabiha, I've got two hats on today. Well, one sits within the other because I set up and run Career Alchemy, which is a career coaching and training business. It's all about helping people find their career purpose. And that's all predicated around my research-proven inspired career life and career and life planning toolkit and planner. And that uses the UN SDGs as a lens onto career choice, because the UN SDGs on the current research from the Social Imperative Index mean that you could have a career that lasts 50 years. It's going to take that long for us to hit some of those key numbers for the UN SDGs, which I think are really important for us as a country, as in Wales, a country as in UK, and for the world as well. So what Career Alchemy does, it does two things. Like you work with young people, Sabiha, so do I. I tend to work with young people who are at risk of developing a NEET profile. I refuse to call them NEETs. I think that's really disingenuous. And I work with them typically through organisations like EY, Ernst & Young, Unilever, Creative and Cultural Skills here in Wales, and universities. And then the other piece of the work that I do, apart from the CDI stuff, of course, which I'll come on to in a minute, is that I work with graduates and career professionals who've got a bit lost, quarter and half life crisis, typically dealt a bit of a difficult blow, maybe don't get on terribly well with their boss, a bit of bullying out, or just totally and utterly lost and listless. So those are my sort of two client groups. And as part of my business, I have the absolute privilege of looking after the interests of the Career Development Institute in Wales, which I do with immense pride as a Welsh woman. So that's a little bit about what I do.
Thank you, Carolyn. And, you know, you wear so many hats. I don't know where you get time to do some of the fun things that you're going to tell us, Carolyn. But speaking of which, I want to shout out to all the members who are watching us live right now. As always, if you can hear us, give us a quick wave. Hopefully we're coming through loud and clear. So drop us a thumbs up if you can hear us okay. And also as well, we want this session, as always, show to be interactive. So if you have any questions for our fabulous guest, Carolyn, please do start dropping them in the comment section. We'll come to them as soon as we can. So please do engage. We want as much engagement as we possibly can. So Carolyn, we always ask our guests to share with us a fun fact, something that perhaps your colleagues don't know about you. So what would you like to reveal to all of us today?
Well, I did spend a lot of time in what I fondly call the Rodin pose, trying to work out desperately what I was going to share. And there were lots of different things. And I did spend a little bit of time talking about my gorgeous little miniature Dachshund dog, Dolly, who's bred by my daughter's dog. But then I thought, no, because a lot of people know about that. If they've connected with me on Facebook, they'll have seen pictures of her. So I won't do that. What I will do is share a little bit about, I'm a bit of a thwarted musician. I nearly went down music as a career route. So I have busked in the grounds of Salisbury Cathedral playing flute, and I have played La Marseillaise in France on the 8th of May as a soldier got his gong. That was in my part of my gap year, well, not my gap year, my industrial year, if you like, my placement year in university. And more recently, I had the absolute pleasure of playing Bob Marley's One Love on the beach in Jamaica with a steel band trio. I can't tell you, epic.
Wow.
Big Bob Marley fan.
Honestly, there's so many of our career practitioners that have got this musical talent within them. I feel a band coming on. Honestly, I really do. And
when we get together at a conference next.
That's it. Add that to the agenda, right? Something to discuss with Jan and the team. And speaking of feel-good stories, because we're all about, there's enough doom and gloom out there in the world, okay? So we always like to bring a ray of sunshine. So Carolyn, what's your feel-good story for this week?
So I'm going to go for two because Wales needs to shout out quite a lot. One is a Welsh story. The other isn't actually. The first one links to my love of music and to the UN SDGs. And it's about Annie Lennox, a shero of mine, Annie Lennox of Eurythmics. She does some stellar work. She's obviously a campaigner and a bit of champion for all sorts of things, particularly women's rights. And so set up a foundation called The Circle, which is an NGO. And she has, after 30 years of creating, I don't know how many epic tunes on her Steinway grand piano, put it up for auction today at Bonham's at 1:30. So we'll be clear from here if anybody's got deep pockets, because she wants to take that money and put it to work in The Circle, her NGO, to help women and girls so they're empowered to make changes in their own lives themselves. So that's my first one, being a bit of a feminist in a nice sort of friendly way. And then the second one is a Welsh story, and you talked about a ray of sunshine and something that's good news. Anybody who knows Wales and is interested in sort of furnishing actually and fabrics will know Laura Ashley, the brand that unfortunately went bust in March, one of the casualties. And that was a business that was set up on Laura's kitchen table in Wales. And it was hugely important to the region. It created hundreds and hundreds of jobs and also a rich seam of very, very highly skilled stitchers who made all the furnishings and garments and so forth. And unfortunately, they fell victim to the business going bust. But there is a good news bit in this, because there's a social enterprise called Fashion Enter Limited, or FEL, who have now received funding from Welsh Government to the tune of £300,000. And this is part of what makes Wales very special, is collaborative and sensitive strategic working with government funding. They've had £300,000. They've been able to retain 77 of those stitchers, many of whom have worked for Laura Ashley for 35 odd years. And not only that, but for future generations, they're going to set up a textile academy with apprenticeships for youngsters to be able to take that seam of knowledge through, so the older generation can help the younger ones develop as well. So that's my really good news story. They're starting off making 10,000 garments a week for ASOS, building to 20,000, and they're also at the same time generating PPE and manufacturing PPE equipment for a private luxury brand called Private White. So taking on another 30 stitchers soon. There's my good news story for the week.
Wow, Carolyn, that those are two amazing, fabulous feel-good stories. Thank you so much for sharing them with them. And what innovation, that's what I'm hearing. People are pivoting, people are finding different ways to still use their existing skills. And I just want to say a shout out to, we've got a couple of people saying they can hear us loud and clear in Glasgow also as well. Sorry, I can't see it just coming up as Facebook user on my StreamYard, so apologies that I can't mention you by name. And then also as well, we've got a member from Nottingham giving us a good wave as well. So I'd love to see some Welsh. I'd love to see some of our Welsh members jumping in as well and saying a quick hello as well. Now, each show, we invite you to say yes, you, the members of the CDI, to either self-nominate or nominate a fellow colleague who you feel is doing outstanding, inspirational, and impactful work. We know there's a lot of doom and gloom out there, so we want to use this show to highlight the awesome talent of this amazing members group. Now, I want to thank everyone who submitted nominations and sent me private messages, and please keep them coming. You can nominate straight onto the post here in the Facebook group, or you can send me a private message as well. Now, everyone today, please join us and celebrate this week's winner. And for those of you watching live right now, you can put an emoji, clapping emoji. And for those of you I know who love watching the replay, as many of you do, post a clapping emoji in the comments to show your support, and let's get together and recognize an amazing and resourceful practitioner this week. And this week's winner goes to Jane Saul Patterson, who with her colleagues, who with her colleagues, including final year student Courtney Welcome, organised a whole series of workshops for Black History Month. And with that being said, we're going to be covering some stories regarding this in the news section. So without further ado, Chris, let's get cracking and let's introduce today's topic.
Fab. So yeah, I think we've kind of given the game away a little bit with who we've got on today, and hopefully people are seeing the banner at the bottom of the screen. But yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned earlier, Sabiha, today we're going to be doing the first of our Home Nation specials. So taking a bit of a deeper dive into CEIAG delivery across the home nations and kind of how it differs a little bit to what's happening in the English space, which sometimes, you know, it gets a lot of attention and we need to focus on what's happening in the home nations as well. So that's what we're going to be quizzing Carolyn about throughout the course of today's show. So I guess we'll move on kind of directly to the first question, which I think, Sabiha, you're going to be tackling with Carolyn. And throughout this, of course, you know, as we've mentioned, if you've got questions for Carolyn, pop them in the comment thread on Facebook. We can bring them up and sort of raise them as we come along. We've had a few people sharing their claps with us and saying hello from sunny Stockport, John Morrison, who's well known to all three of us. And we also have Lynn and another Facebook user who I can't see sharing those claps as well. So that's brilliant. So onward to talk about home nations, but particularly CEIAG in Wales. And Sabiha,
so
back
Carolyn,
to you for
you
our first
started
question.
your role as a CDI Project Associate for Wales in September 2017 with a brief to engage with and grow the CDI membership in Wales, you know, increase the Institute's footprint and influence with key organisations and opinion formers and develop a CPD programme for Welsh members. How has this experience been for you, and what does the CDI's Welsh membership look like at present?
Well, now there's a question. So I'm going to start by saying, apart from being a massive privilege, it's a 2-day-a-month role for me. And I think it's fair to say that I pack quite a lot into those 2 days. And those 2 days are quite elastic in the way I seem to count them. And for me, this is all about building relationships and using some strategy behind it to do it. Because when you've got a limited amount of resource, you can't do everything. So you have to focus. So I worked with John. We talked about how we were going to tackle it, and I wanted to have a very clear strategy that's a three-part strategy fundamentally, and it's what informs everything that we do in Wales. And the first one is acting as the voice for the sector in Wales and making sure that our professional voice is heard. And if you want to grow a membership and you want to grow engagement, unless people understand the value and the need of what you're offering, they're not going to play. So one of the first things we do is we set up a forum which happens quarterly, and it's a cross-sector forum. So I invite people from Welsh Government, from Assembly members, we've got MPs that I interface with that pop in sometimes, or at least their reps do, councillors, regional learning and skills partnerships, regional skills and learning partnerships, which is a little bit like your LEPs. We have representatives from AGCAS, from universities, FE, obviously our members, whether they're in private sector or Careers Wales, our big bulk member. And those guys all come together with us once a quarter to talk about something that's a burning issue. And in fact, we've got our next one tomorrow. So I've been busily working on sorting that out. And the topic we're talking about is the next normal. Thank you for that one, Chris. The next normal, rebranding career aspirations and access to opportunities digitally. We're going to be talking about digital poverty. We're going to talk about the reality of how people respond to working digitally, particularly if they have a digital poverty problem. And we're going to be talking about well-being and resilience for practitioners as we all keep going in what we thought might have ended sort of summertime. So that's sort of professional voice. That means I also go and speak at events and share the second thing we've got as our strategy, which is best practice and research. So I do quite a lot of keynote stuff. In the old days, BC, before Corona, I used to go out and do keynotes. Now I do them online. So next week I'm doing a session for the North Wales Economic Ambitions Board as part of their conference, which has got an introduction from Ken Skates, the Minister. So that sort of thing, sourcing articles from people in the community that work in careers practice in Wales to share that through Career Matters to members elsewhere. I write articles quite a lot these days, people like Governors Wales, and I sit on a number of groups and boards. So I sit on the Working Party for Creative and Cultural Skills. We know how much that sector's taken a huge bashing. We're talking about how we can start to do things to help that regrow and keep attracting talent as a pipeline over time with youngsters in particular. Some exciting announcements I won't steal their thunder from today. That'll be coming up shortly. I sit on the board of the Wales Institute of Digital Information. We know how important tech is for future careers. And I also work quite a lot with Kate Owen. Shout out to Kate, who's running the Gatsby pilot, which is happening in Wales, which is our take on Gatsby. It's not quite the same, but she's the expert on that. If anybody's interested and wants to hook up with Kate, let me know and I'll connect you up. That work is all around trying to prevent 3 generations of unemployment and breaking that cycle of deprivation. So that's sort of best practice and research and supporting people. And then the third platform, once you've got the voice for the sector, best practice and research, the third one is around enhancing quality, professionalism and workforce development. And that's really very much around, with the best practice bit, supporting members. So I do a fortnightly newsletter that goes out. We've got a couple of new things we're introducing to that. So we have a member of the month video interview. The first one's gone out now. That was with Steve Jones from Bridgend College. Shout out to Steve. The next one is with somebody that you both know, I think, Christine Butler, who won Career Coach of the Year, Careers Advisor of the Year for Careers Wales. And a shout out to Kira, who's the training manager at Careers Wales. She's one of my primary interfaces with Careers Wales. She does a stellar job for us. So that sort of thing. And then you talked about the webinar program. Yes, I've lost count of the number of webinars I've set up since 2017, but I'm pretty sure it's probably around about 20 now. And it's covered everything and you can hear timely things coming through. So if I do a quick sort of go through the gig economy, remember that one when that first started to be a thing? That was with somebody from UK government, BAYS, and also representing the Employment Agency Standards. We held, I'm very proud of this, the first webinar to go over 100 seats for CDI, and that was all around LGBTQ. We've done stuff on neurodiversity, personal branding, LinkedIn, developing confidence in clients. That's one I did. And we've done a whole load of stuff around digital career coaching circles, which you'll read more about in Career Matters when it comes out at the end of the month. And one of the big things I do is sort of quietly around the back door, if you like, is connecting people. That's part of our role, isn't it? It's to connect people so that they get the best out of their membership and we can work better to help people develop the futures that they want. So I spend a lot of time connecting members digitally at the moment, obviously. And you asked about the profile of members, so let me come on to that one. Round about 500, a large bulk of those working Careers Wales. There's about 250, 270 RCDP members in Wales, plus another 150-ish, I think my numbers are about right, who work as employability coaches, and then there's the business engagement folk who are members as well, where they choose to be. We've also got some organisation members like Creative and Cultural Skills, like Rhondda Cynon Council, and practitioners who are working in private practice like me might be working in something like a youth offending team, for instance. So quite a broad mix, and probably just over 10% of the CDI UK cohort in total. So,
brilliant, Carolyn.
Flavour of what we do.
Great overview. Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be really interesting to kind of people who are less familiar, with how maybe the memberships work and how the project associate role works in the different home nations. And so I think it's really interesting to hear. I mean, you mentioned there quite a few differences that maybe people operating in other parts of the UK might not be familiar with. And I know Sabiha's going to touch upon that in a later question. But I think to kind of bring you back to what you were talking about in terms of Gatsby and the Gatsby pilot in Wales, many people, many members may have seen or may have kind of heard in the news about the curriculum for Wales that sort of came out at the top end of the year. And I guess the focus that, often, I guess, careers practitioners bemoan in England, certainly around, education being more linked towards, exam results as opposed to kind of that more holistic curriculum. I guess really it's something that we really want to touch on with you, which is, what are your thoughts on the curriculum for Wales in terms of how it's set out, and is it likely to have an impact on the work that careers practitioners do in Wales? And if so, what might that look like? Admittedly, early days yet, but very interested in your thoughts.
We're on what even the minister's calling a journey, but I think it's hugely encouraging, actually. I think there's one big word in all of this, which is holistic. So the national curriculum has come out of a desire to change. It's strongly linked to the work of the Future Generations Commissioner, Sophie Howe, and that's something that makes Wales very special. We're world leaders in this area. And we have the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act 2015. So it's legislative, and she has powers over organisations to make sure the decisions they make now do not prejudice future generations. And that's a hugely important piece of legislation, not least because it connects to 7 wellbeing goals which are Wales's version of the UN SDGs concatenated. So it talks about Wales being a prosperous Wales, a resilient Wales, more equal, healthier, more of a sense of cohesive community, vibrant culture, thriving language, and then a globally responsible Wales. And I just wanted to put that backdrop in there because it also connects with, as well, the UN Convention on the Rights of Children. So there's a lot about rights here for future generations, and that's the backdrop. Now, the actual, I think it's probably helpful if I spend a minute or two just outlining very quickly what the national curriculum is, because it's quite different from what's happening elsewhere. So the new national curriculum has 4 pillars to it, and they are developing ambitious, capable learners ready to learn throughout their lives. And we all know how important that is, given Industry 4.0. The second pillar is about being enterprising, creative contributors who are ready to play a full part in life and work. So it's not just work. Wales is very much about work-life balance. That's not to say we don't like to excel, because we do, but we try not to burn out in the process. At least that's the theory. The third pillar is about ethical, informed citizens of Wales and the world. And there's definitely a groundswell happening in Wales, like there is in Scotland, about independence, which is an interesting dynamic as well. And then the fourth one is about developing healthy and confident individuals who are ready to lead fulfilling lives as valued members of society. And you can hear rights and responsibilities through all of this, can't you? So those are the 4 pillars that sort of frame the work. And then there are the national curriculum is now being reworked into 6 what are called areas of learning and experience, AOLEs. So subjects grouped together: expressive arts, health and well-being, humanities, language, literacy and communication, maths and numeracy, and science and technology. And you can see that there's no emphasis on one being more important than the other. Now, how does that connect up with careers work? Well, maintained schools in Wales are under a duty to provide a broad and balanced curriculum for 3 to 16-year-olds. So this is right the way across the piece. And Careers and Wales of Work, which is led by Careers Wales, which is the formal careers education programme, if you like, is now being treated as a cross-cutting element. It's not statutory, it's not standalone, but it's embedded, and I think that's the key word. So obviously, before I come on and talk about this sort of stuff, what I do is I go back to my members and say, give me your take, because I'm not going to be the one that comes out and takes us down the wrong path, and they're much more expert at this than I am. So I spent some time talking to Mark Owen, who's one of the directors on the senior management team at Careers Wales, just to do some litmus tests, and I've checked with some other people as well, and the overall consensus is hugely positive. We have to recognise there's a lot of work for teachers to do, and at a time when we've got a pandemic, but that to one side, the will is there, I think, with teachers as well. And what the feedback is from people working in that guidance context in schools, because I don't work in that context, but the feedback from Careers Wales and others is that there's a strong belief it's going to contribute to the achievement of identified what they call integral skills. Now, they are creativity and innovation. Really, we need that at the moment and going forward. Critical thinking and problem solving, hooray. Personal effectiveness, thank goodness for that. Planning and organisation. And having much more of employer involvement in curriculum, and having more, therefore, career-related content in that curriculum. If you go onto the website, and I know you're going to share the link afterwards for the national curriculum, aren't you, Chris? If you go on that, you can go down and you'll see what matters as a description for those for that area of learning. But there's also a section about careers and what careers it could link to, and why it's important. So it's not we'll bolt on careers after, we'll actually have that as an inherent part of what's going on. And so the belief is that that's going to encourage more problem-based learning. Yes, all the universities I know have been on that curve. Certainly when I was there 5 years ago and I left ABBA, we've been doing problem-based learning for at least 3 years. And that's really important in curriculum, and it makes sure the employers are in there so it's closer. And there's not that thing, well, there's education and there's this thing out here called work, but it makes it much more seamless and easier to understand. And so the belief is that careers advisors, when they meet one-to-one with students in schools and learners in schools, those learners will be exposed to so much more that they'll have a greater understanding and amount of content to work with before they even get to that one-to-one experience. So they should be able to do much more work with those individuals because they're starting from a better starting place. So that's the sort of ethos. Now, in terms of timings, just to give you that, 2 very important documents have come out this week. So it's very, very timely. So I just want to flag those as well. And I think those are going to be in Chris's notes as well. One is the Curriculum for Wales, The Journey to 2022. I think it came out yesterday. It was either yesterday or the day before. And it's in, for those watching from Wales, it's in the It's in the fortnightly newsletter that's going out, I think, probably today. So the link to that is in there, and that sort of is guidance for for teachers, rather, to help them understand what's now needed. And what was great about that is it's co-constructed with regional learning partners and Estin, which is our equivalent of Ofsted, and Welsh Government. So it's not government in isolation saying, go do this. That's not the way Wales works. Wales is very consultative and very much partnerships based, cross-sector, and will involve employers and so forth in that as well, because they recognise it's all part of the same thing. We have to educate for people to work later on. So therefore, let's have them connected rather than separated. And the other document that's come out is our national mission, which is the action plan that talks about the timings for that. So let me just have a quick look at my notes on that to make sure I get these right for you. So national curriculum and assessment arrangements finalised, available January 2020. 2021 September, schools prepare for first teaching of curriculum. September 22, new curriculum from nursery to year 7. 2023, rolled out from years 8 to 11. So that's the trajectory that we're on.
Carolyn,
and I hope that answered your question.
OMG, you did, and so concurrently, and oh my god, so much details. I mean, as somebody who doesn't work in Wales, and I know many members who'll be watching the show won't be, literally you've just given us an insight into what good practice, and what I hear loud and clear from you, Carolyn, is this, which is that all the stakeholders involved have a say and are looking at ways and as you rightly put it, it's about partnership work. It's about pushing forward and making sure that everybody's round the table and everybody's working towards a solution for this. This isn't a sort of ad hoc, a last minute, we'll think about careers later, and that's what came through loud and clear.
If you've heard Mark Drakeford speak recently, he will tell you that Wales thinks first and then acts. And he likes to do it that way. I'm not making any other comments. It likes to do it that way because then we all know where we are. Now, that's not to say there hasn't been some robust debate around this and some subsequent changes to the first set of documents that came out for consultation. And that's one of the things I also get involved with CDI hat, is I respond to government consultations as well in conjunction with members. And there was some robust debate around it, and there was some simplification and some changes. However, the main ethos of the 4 pillars and then the 6 AOLEs have carried on. And it's really important. So I'd encourage anybody to go and have a read. And I think somebody's popped up in the comments, could we share them? And yes, let's do that afterwards as well. So the link to the document, go read that. You'll see the 4 pillars. But if we could drop those into the group at some point, that would be fantastic. Either of you. I'll leave you with that one.
Carolyn, we'll definitely take care of that. We'll add that to the resource document. So everybody who's watching, and for particularly the new members who are watching this for the first time, we create this resource document that we always that put in the Facebook group after the show within usually the 30 minutes to an hour. So look out for that as well, because we'll be doing that exactly the same. So all the links that Carolyn's talked about today, that Chris has shared, that I'll be sharing, all of that, including the 4 pillars, will be included in this resource document. We've got a few minutes left, Carolyn, and I've got one final question for you before we sort of head on into the news segment. So I'm going to give you, and I apologize for this, but I'm going to give you 60 seconds to explore this question, which was that we often hear that CEIAG delivery can be quite different across the home nations, and you've touched upon some of the themes and how the differences as well, due to in part to the context of the regional labour market, career policy, and the way education is delivered. Not to mention the body that delivers this that is in Careers Wales is very different in structure to the England's National Career Service. So the question is this: what do you feel are some of the key differences between the careers landscape in Wales compared to other home nations? And what are you particularly proud of when it comes to the Welsh careers community?
Always makes me smile, that last bit in the question. Okay, so let me start at the beginning. Wales, it takes about 5 hours to drive from top to bottom. We have very distinct parts. It's not all about Cardiff in the same way it's not all about London. We have a government that has priority sectors. They're not called that these days, but that's in essence what they are, the key things that we as a nation want to develop. So that makes it very easy to understand, and those are cascaded through the regional learning and skills partnerships, makes it easy to understand what's needed in each of the different areas. So it's less of a mystery. That's the LMI piece, if you like. We have a national career service, a truly national career service. It's a wholly owned subsidiary of a particular type of Welsh government, and it therefore provides a national service. Big investment into digital to support people. Underfunded, they've taken a battering on the funding over the last few years, and I think it's only fair to say they've done some fantastic work given that challenge, but hopefully that is a situation that's changing as people recognise now is our time as career guidance practitioners. We're needed more than ever. And I think also we have a vibrant third sector in Wales. We come from a background of having a significant amount of money come in from Europe, so we have a very vibrant third sector, which also works around this piece of not guidance, shouldn't be guidance unless they're trained, but around advice and support to get people into work. So I think all of that makes us different. The fact that we have the new curriculum makes us different. And I think what also makes us different, it's great to be able to say we've got 250 plus careers advisors in Wales who are all RCDP. And that's a requirement of Careers Wales to be in a careers advisor role. And a large number of people who are members and working towards higher qualifications as employability coaches and business engagement specialists. So that's what makes us different. We also have some private practitioners and people working in all sorts of different places. What makes me proud in my last 10 seconds? Well, we had 3 representatives from Wales on the shortlist for the CDI Awards that have just gone, this year's. Ron the Cadontar for the Gatsby work, me for some research work with Derby, and our winner, Christine Baker, who won UK Career Coach of the Year, Careers Advisor of the Year. I'm hoping for more. I've already emailed out about that this morning. That's going out in the fortnightly news saying, please put some more forward, because actually Wales is doing stellar stuff. And for a nation our size, we punch well above our weight. So I'm looking forward to more celebrations next year.
Fantastic, yeah, and as you say, Carolyn, I think we're going to be including that in the CDI news that Sabia is going to come to about the UK Career Development Awards. So yeah, well worth mentioning. I think Career Wales as well from the tech side of things. I know that they're kind of, I think it was the 360 videos sort of employer. Was that 2 years? About 2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah,
so I mean, yeah, a lot of. That's absolutely brilliant. We've forced you into a very quick assessment there, but I think anyone who's been watching this will kind of really get the impression of not only the work that's kind of going on in Wales at the moment, but obviously how sort of passionate about that work Welsh practitioners feel. So I think that's great to hear, even as a very brief overview. Sabia, we'll move on very quickly because I appreciate we're coming to the end of our time. So we're going to move directly on to the CDI news. A lot to pack in this week before we finish off with the main news at the end of the show. So Sabia, back to you.
CDI news. So just remember, everybody, the email for the CDI news went out yesterday, so check your inbox. And if you're not receiving these emails for any reason whatsoever, please do contact the CDI and they will make sure that they address that issue. So today,
if I could, quick interrupt, because there are 3 newsletters that goes out. One to England went out yesterday. Scotland was going out last night. Wales is going out today. So they come out as separate editions, just if anybody's confused. Excuse the interrupt.
Yep. No, thank you for that, Carol. Thank you for Carolyn for letting people know that obviously the home nations also have their own individual newsletters specific to them as well. So, kudos to the team actually that put the effort and time and energy into making that happen, Carolyn, including yourself as well. And so the CDI continues to lobby on behalf of career development professionals through the Career Development Policy Group. An email has been sent to invite members to lobby to your local MP, but also to sign the attached open letter to Ministers for the Apprenticeship and Skills, Gillian Keegan. Now, the closing date is today, so if you haven't done it already, please do so. And the link for that will be attached in the resources document, but also an email has been sent out to you as well. Now, do you feel strongly about the development of the sector and our professional body? And do you want to offer a way for members like you to help define our strategy and shape our profession? The CDI notice of election for the president-elect is just that opportunity. It's an opportunity to lead your institution. The timetable now for the nominations and election has already begun on Monday, the 5th of October. Now, notice to the membership will, with links to the role description and nomination form, have already been sent out. And further reminders notice to the membership will be sent out on Friday, the 23rd of October. So if you think that this is something that you would like to do, please note that nominations for this role close on Friday, the 23rd of October. Now, Carolyn mentioned the UK Career Development Awards. So the 2021 is now open for nominations and the closing date is Friday, 8th of January. There are 8 awards in total for excellence in our sector, 4 of which are personal achievement awards, 2 are best practice awards, and 2 research and technology awards. All the details can be found on the CDI website. Diversity Unconscious Bias, the new diversity resources webpage, which is highlighting Black History Month and provides a link to recently published articles in addressing unconscious bias and white Privilege in Career Guidance Practice, written by Ugana Ramsey, who's a career advisor and author, and activist Emma Bolger, who's a lecturer for the career guidance and development at the University of West of Scotland, was published on the 28th of August and is now available on the website too. Now, the October Careers Matter. The next edition is at the printers as we speak, and it will be posted out at the end of this week. Now, I've just been told to say that please open the plastic wrapper carefully, because this edition includes your membership certificate and copy of the Code of Ethics. And finally, for me, today is the October edition of the NICEC Journal, soon to be accessible through the members area. This edition presents the work of a number of early career researchers. Everywhere we look, our world is changing, and the possibility for career and for the provision of career education and guidance are changing with it. Because of this, it's vital that we continue to search for new theories and listen to new voices in the field. So that's all for the CDI news. Chris, over to you for the main news feed.
Fab, thanks, Sabiha. So very, very kind of brief run through, because we've got a particular issue we want to pick up on and bring Carolyn in before we finish as well, very briefly if we can. So some really great articles in the show resources that we'll share. We'll just kind of touch on very briefly. To lean back to what you were saying at the beginning of the show, Sabiha, in terms of the Black History Month and our shout out today. There's some really good blogs, as we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, on the Careers Guidance for Social Justice blog site. One of those is from Tahira Majothi, who is an HE careers consultant, about careers guidance in the context of Black Lives Matter. That's really, really, 2 articles there, really worth reading. And on top of that as well, Paul Gauntz put out a good article about universal basic income, linked to an article that I found on The Conversation about some research that's been going on in Australia about insecure work and how that impacts on personality long term. Some fascinating stuff in there. I know, Carolyn, you've mentioned about the Future Generations Commissioner. If we had a bit more time, we could bring you in on that as well, because I think there's some really interesting work happening in that space too. Some other stories that we've kind of put in there alongside the usual labour market reports from the ISE and from Prospects Luminate. There's also some stuff really worth having a look at from Adobe Max. For those who haven't seen, 20th to the 22nd of October, there is a free creativity conference open to basically anyone. I believe it's over the age of 18, might even be younger, with some absolutely amazing 350 plus guest speakers, including people like Ava DuVernay, the director of Selma, Wes Anderson, Taika Waititi, Ai Weiwei, some just unbelievable speaker lineup, all totally free. All you can watch back on record. Anyone interested in creative careers, there's some fab stuff in there. But I suppose just to kind of finish off really in terms of the elephant in the room this last couple of weeks. Carolyn can't keep it together now. Sabiha mentioned at the top of the show, obviously, about kind of 2 big stories that have been out over the past kind of fortnight. One around the careers assessment beta on the National Careers Service website, the skills assessment test, and one about obviously the recent, although actually not that recent, advertising campaign from the National Cybersecurity Centre. That this was the Fatima Doesn't Know It Yet famously talked about on the media over the last week. And I think, I suppose really what we wanted to touch on, and there's a really good article that we will share on the resources from Tristram Hooley that came out this morning about how we kind of attack these type of challenges and issues as a as a professional body, I should say, and as members of a professional body, in terms of emphasising the positives, even when dealt with some pretty serious misrepresentation in the media in terms of what we do. So, Carolyn, I'd just like to maybe bring you in on that very quickly in terms of your views, potted views, I guess, because we could
very potted. So, Stage one, head hits desk when you read it and go, not again, not more bashing of careers work, please, because it seems like a very blunt instrument to try and fix a very complex problem. That was my initial reaction. Once I got past that, I went back to, actually, this is an opportunity to shout out about the wonderful magic work that we do as a profession, and also refer to our code of ethics and to challenge all the stereotyping and being stereotyped as somebody that tells somebody to go and be a plumber at 16 or whatever it is, the apocryphal story we've all had. Actually, that's our chance to challenge stereotypes in our own profession, in the way that our profession is seen. So for me, this is about professionalism, banging on the drum and saying we are needed more than ever, and if you work with us, we can really help turn your life around.
Nailed it.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And I think if you've not read the Hooley article yet as well, I think reinforces a lot of what Carolyn's saying. I think particularly that idea of, it's quite easy sometimes, I think generally now on social media, to get drawn into those campaigns. I guess they call it playing the man, not the ball, and the issue somehow gets kind of buried under all of the kind of the social media stuff. So I think, you know, what you've mentioned there, Carolyn, is absolutely spot on, that it's that opportunity for us to say, well, actually, the context we provide as careers guidance practitioners is exactly what would help with any of these things, whether they're short careers assessments, whether it's poor marketing campaigns or misrepresentation of careers in the media. You know, this is exactly where we step in. And I think you've done a really effective job today of talking about how that's been going on in Wales, which is great to hear. As a follow-up to that, just in terms of a bit of a sneak preview into our next show, it's going to be the Home Nation special focusing on Scotland, where we'll be talking with Dr. Pete Robertson, who's newly become the Project Associate for Scotland. So we're going to be finding out a lot more about what's happening in Scotland in terms of kind of careers, education, information, advice, and guidance as well. But all that remains left to say is thanks for those who've kind of tuned in today. Many thanks to my co-host, as always, Sabiha, and many thanks to Carolyn for joining us today. And to everybody watching, have a great day.
Absolute pleasure. Take care.
All the best.
Bye-bye.